Movement feels productive. Stillness feels exposed. When you are doing something, you are not confronting what you feel. Emails, deadlines, plans, goals. Activity creates structure. Structure reduces ambiguity. Internal discomfort thrives in unstructured space. The moment your schedule clears, something subtle surfaces. Restlessness, unease, a vague sense that something is unresolved. So you fill the space again. Productivity becomes regulation, not consciously. You do not wake up thinking, "I will work to avoid myself." You wake up thinking, "I need to get things done." But the urgency is rarely only practical. Doing protects you from feeling. When you are focused on output, there is no room for grief. When you are optimizing, there is no room for doubt. When you are building, there is no room for emptiness. Stillness removes distraction, and distraction was shielding you. In silence, the mind wanders. It returns to conversations that lingered, to disappointments not processed, to fears not articulated. Movement interrupts that return. There is a reward embedded here. Progress creates measurable evidence of value. You completed something, improved something, advanced something. External movement feels like internal advancement, but they are not the same. Achievement offers clarity. You can see the result. Emotion is ambiguous. You cannot quantify sadness. You cannot optimize insecurity. You cannot efficiently solve longing. So you solve tasks instead. Tasks respond to effort. Emotion does not always. That unpredictability makes feeling threatening. If you slow down, you may notice tension you have been ignoring. If you rest, you may notice fatigue that sleep does not fix. If you pause, you may notice dissatisfaction that productivity was masking. So you keep moving. Movement becomes anesthesia, not dramatic escape, just consistent avoidance. You tell yourself you are disciplined, and you are, but discipline can coexist with evasion. The system learns something subtle. When I work, I feel stable. When I stop, I feel unsettled. Stability becomes linked to output. Unsettled becomes linked to stillness. Over time, this association strengthens. You reach for productivity automatically whenever discomfort rises. Not because work is required, because feeling is uncomfortable. The danger is not ambition. Ambition can be healthy. The danger is when output becomes the only place where you feel legitimate, when silence feels like failure, when rest feels irresponsible. Movement protects you from confronting what is unresolved. But what is unresolved does not disappear. It waits for the moment you finally stop moving. Productivity is not only behavior, it can become identity. You are not just someone who works hard. You are the reliable one, the efficient one, the one who gets things done. Usefulness becomes character. Over time, output begins to substitute for worth. If you produce, you matter. If you achieve, you are valuable. If you stay busy, you are legitimate. This equation forms quietly. It is rarely spoken, but it operates constantly. Stillness interrupts this equation. If you are not doing, what confirms your value? If you are not advancing, what defines you? If you are not needed, who are you? Busyness fills that gap. It prevents the identity vacuum. When your calendar is full, you feel relevant. When your tasks are stacked, you feel necessary. When others depend on your output, you feel anchored. This anchoring can become addictive, not to success itself, but to the sense of certainty it provides. Emotion is uncertain. Worth tied to productivity is measurable. There is also protection embedded here. If you are always advancing, you do not have to sit with inadequacy. If you are constantly improving, you do not have to feel behind. If you are busy, you do not have to examine loneliness. Busyness narrows introspection. It is difficult to question yourself when your attention is externally occupied. You may feel fulfilled, but the fulfillment is conditional. Conditional on output. Conditional on achievement. Conditional on visible progress. Remove the productivity and something uncomfortable may surface. A question about purpose. A doubt about identity. A fear of insignificance. These questions are quieter than deadlines, so deadlines feel safer. Identity fused with productivity creates rigidity. You struggle to rest without guilt. You struggle to say no without anxiety. You struggle to exist without optimizing. Relaxation becomes suspicious. Unstructured time becomes threatening, because unstructured time exposes what productivity conceals. You may notice emotional residue, grief you postponed, conversations unresolved, self-doubt not addressed. Movement allowed you to avoid these quietly. The loop strengthens itself. You feel discomfort. You increase activity. Activity reduces awareness. Reduced awareness feels like relief. Relief reinforces busyness. Eventually, usefulness replaces authenticity. You know how to perform competence, but you may not know how to sit with yourself without producing. This is not a flaw in ambition. Ambition can coexist with depth. The distortion occurs when worth is exclusively tied to output, when productivity becomes proof that you are enough. And when proof is required constantly, rest feels like failure. So you keep moving, not only toward goals, but away from something internal that movement keeps hidden. If this perspective resonates, like the video. Subscribe if you want more. No pressure, just awareness. Productivity can coexist with avoidance. You can be advancing externally while bypassing something internally. There is a subtle moment that repeats. Discomfort rises, restlessness, self-doubt, a vague sense of dissatisfaction. Instead of examining it, you open a task, you refine a plan, you start another project, you reorganize something. Movement begins. The discomfort softens, not because it resolved, but because attention shifted. Attention is powerful. Where focus goes, awareness narrows. If awareness narrows toward output, it withdraws from emotion. This creates a loop, unprocessed feeling to increased activity to temporary relief to emotional delay. The relief is reinforcing. It tells the system, when you work, you feel better. So the next time discomfort rises, you reach for work faster. Progress becomes sedation. You are not idle. You are not stagnant. You are improving. Improvement feels constructive, but construction can distract from excavation. You may even notice that your most intense productivity emerges during emotional disruption, after conflict, after rejection, after disappointment. Instead of sitting with the impact, you double your output. You become sharper, more focused, more relentless. Externally, this is admirable. Internally, it is displacement. The emotion that required processing is redirected into achievement. Achievement provides dopamine. Dopamine provides motivation. Motivation masks pain. The loop deepens when success follows. You worked through it. You achieved despite it. You did not collapse. That resilience reinforces the strategy. But resilience built on avoidance leaves something unresolved. What is unresolved does not vanish. It waits. It may surface as irritability when work slows, as emptiness after a milestone is reached, as restlessness during moments of stillness. There is also escalation. What once required moderate productivity now requires more. Longer hours, more goals, higher standards. The avoidance must intensify to override deeper emotion. This is how burnout forms quietly, not from weakness, from sustained redirection. You are constantly converting emotion into output. That conversion is exhausting. You may tell yourself you are driven, and you are, but drive can coexist with escape. Escape from uncertainty, escape from grief, escape from confronting identity beyond performance. The danger is subtle. You may reach impressive milestones without ever addressing what triggered the initial discomfort. You grow outward, but inward, something remains unexamined. When productivity becomes avoidance, success does not resolve unease. It postpones it, and postponed emotion returns with more weight. Movement feels like progress, but sometimes it is just distance from something you have not allowed yourself to feel. The real test is not how much you can do. It is what happens when you stop. When the task list clears, when the notifications quiet, when the schedule opens, something unfamiliar enters, not boredom, exposure. Without movement, there is no distraction. Without distraction, there is awareness. And awareness can surface what productivity kept suspended. A quiet dissatisfaction, a lingering sadness, a question about direction, a fear you never examined. Stillness removes the noise, and noise was protective. When you were moving, you felt defined, focused, necessary. When you are still, you are confronted with yourself without output. If your worth has been tethered to usefulness, rest feels destabilizing. If your identity has been built around progress, pause feels regressive. You may notice subtle anxiety when nothing demands you, a compulsion to check something, to fix something, to improve something. The body equates inactivity with risk. But what is the risk? Not failure, not stagnation. Internal contact. Contact with emotion that was deferred. Contact with uncertainty that was managed through motion. Contact with identity beyond performance. These are harder to navigate than tasks. Tasks have steps. Emotion has depth. Stillness feels threatening because it removes the illusion of control. You cannot optimize grief. You cannot schedule clarity. You cannot accelerate integration. These processes require presence. Presence requires tolerating discomfort without converting it into action. When you resist stillness, you reinforce the loop. Discomfort rises. You reach for productivity. Productivity lowers awareness. Awareness stays postponed. Breaking this pattern is not about abandoning ambition. It is about separating output from avoidance. You can build without escaping. You can work without anesthetizing. You can pursue goals without using them as shields. But that requires noticing the impulse. The moment discomfort surfaces and your first instinct is to do more. Instead of moving immediately, you pause. You allow the discomfort to register. You name it. You feel it. Not dramatically, just directly. In that space, something shifts. You realize that stillness does not collapse you. Emotion does not consume you. Discomfort does not require immediate conversion into productivity. When movement stops being escape, it becomes choice. And when productivity is chosen rather than used for avoidance, it no longer needs to protect you. If this exposed something you recognize in yourself, consider liking the video and subscribing.